everyone, and welcome to Dallas Hoops Fancast, a podcast for Mavs fans. I'm your host, Sydney. I'm here with my co-host, Martin.
Hey, guys.
You can follow me on Twitter at _Sydney Myers. You can follow the show on Twitter at Dallas Hoops Cast. And now you can listen to new episodes and read exclusive articles at DallasHoopsCast.com. And that's it.
You shortened it.
I think that's the shortest one that I've ever done.
Cool. Let's keep that as our
But
model.
also, a pretty cool thing that we added to the site.
Oh.
If you go to...
So that wasn't the end of it.
If you go to DallasHoopsCast.com/shop, you can begin shopping for Mavs apparel and game tickets. It's actually pretty cool. We're affiliate partners of Fanatics.com and TicketNetwork.com. So this is one way that we can keep the site ad-free by... when you buy using our links, we get a commission when you use that money to keep the site going. So honestly, we're probably going to keep the site ad-free. We're going to keep everything ad-free just because we hate ads. But it's pretty cool. You can go there to buy merchandise or tickets. It's a good place to start.
Yep.
And that's it.
All right. Let's
Okay.
do this.
So let's get started with the episode. The Mavericks are going to win the championship because they blew out the Thunder like 128,000 to 32.
Yep.
And they actually looked really good. So since we do this like once a week, we have like a more perspective on the way that preseason has gone. Since I think there's been 2
It's not
or
an
3
overreaction.
games. Yeah, because I think after every game, we overreacted to everything. But now after kind of seeing things form over the past few games, it's kind of cool to have this nice picture of it. And I gotta say, last night, the Mavericks looked, it was still a preseason game, but they looked like an actual team. I mean, they looked like they came together as a team. And there were some things that weren't pretty, which we'll talk about, but just to see them on the court and the way that they communicated and their chemistry, they looked like they were coming together as people. I mean, not just as basketball players learning to play together, but just as people, they seem to really form a chemistry on the court. It was cool to see.
Yeah, I think the injuries to Dorian and to Jalen kind of required them to have to shorten the lineups a little bit, which was nice because you didn't have, with everybody healthy, they're running 50 different people out there at any given moment in the game. So there's really no cohesiveness. Nobody really knows what they're doing because they don't know who they're playing with. And because of the injuries, I think it allowed them to shorten that lineup a little bit so that way they could have some cohesiveness. I know he's not going to start at the wing, but I did like Courtney Lee as the starter.
Well. He played like he wants to get minutes.
Well, the thing with Courtney Lee is that he has been a starter his whole career, really, for the most part. And so he knows how to play basketball. He may not be able to take a guy off the dribble or, whatever, go 10 for 10 from the 3-point line. But if he gets an open shot, he'll shoot it. If he doesn't, he makes the right play. And his defense, is it a downgrade compared to Dorian and Justin Jackson?
Well, it depends on who you talk to.
Yeah.
But and also the matchup. I mean, the fact is those guys are just taller and bigger. So depending on the matchup, it might be a downgrade. But you were talking about how he makes the right play. Mm-hmm. And that was one thing that I noticed in the game in general. And we were talking about
with all the players?
Yeah. Well, not just, but specifically the guys that played is they were guys that always made the right play. And I've noticed this a lot in preseason, that a guy will get like a wide open 3 and not shoot it. Or he'll
pump
get,
fake it.
Yeah, the defense will close out and he'll pump fake, but then he doesn't use the pump fake. He dribbles and just kind of keeps on dribbling around in the lane. And I don't mean just one particular player, but I've seen that a lot from the whole team. Whereas last night, the guys that were on the court, they were decisive. I mean, guys like Curry got minutes and Courtney Lee and DeLon Wright was more aggressive. They would pump fake and then make the right move and they made the right pass. And that's kind of like what I was talking about of seeing them come together like a team. Like they didn't always get a good shot or didn't always go in, but that kind of ball movement is important.
Yeah, they had open shots all over the court.
Yeah.
I mean,
particularly Porzingis.
Yeah. Yes, Porzingis.
Like every shot was wide open.
And he's even commented on that the last couple of games, how he's kind of surprised how open he is. Because it seems like every shot, he shot like 21 times.
Yeah.
And I think 4 of them were contested. the other 17 were just wide open jumpers.
And he missed them, but
but you feel good about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I thought he kicked off some of that rust in the second half or towards the end of the first half and into the second half. So if he continues to get open shots like that, then, Mavericks are going to score 120, 130 points a game.
Yeah, it's like, I know it's preseason, so you never really know about the defense, but if Porzingis is the one getting those wide open shots, I mean, that's
doesn't matter how good your defense
good
is.
Offense.
Yeah.
Like if it's one thing if it's, Curry or DeLon Wright or whoever, but if it's Porzingis that's at the end of that, that's a good play.
You got to ask yourself, let's say a team decides to focus on Porzingis.
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing when they do that? They leave Luka.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, fine. Then Luka's just going to get a wide open layup. So really that 1-2 punch, they can't run it every play, every game, but crunch time minutes, whenever the game's on the line, last 3 minutes, I see a lot of Luka and Porzingis pick and roll, and it just puts the defense so off balance. So even if they find a way to crowd those two guys, that just means two people are wide open.
Yeah, and Porzingis is so good at getting to the spot.
Mm-hmm.
So
and he's so tall; it's an easy target. to pass
whether
it to
it's like a pick and roll or a pick and pop, particularly on pick and pops, he always gets to the open spot in the defense, and it's crazy because there really should never be an open spot in that kind of play, but he always manages to find it. And then Luka, being who he is, always finds Porzingis when he gets there.
And even DeLon has found him a couple of times on a pick and roll or when DeLon drove it to the lane. Porzingis just happens to be where the open shot is. And that's the sign, you and I have talked about that. You can't just be a good shooter in the league. You have to be able to know where to go. And Klay Thompson, one of the best catch and shoot threes, you would think, well, just never leave him open. Simple.
He's always open.
Yes,
he always gets to the right spot.
Exactly. He always knows where to go, and it looks like Porzingis is going to be that way too, which means he's always going to get open shots. It's always going to put pressure on the defense.
Yeah, you were talking about Dorian Finney-Smith, how he didn't play, and of course, everybody knows we're not very high on Dorian Finney-Smith, and it was to see a game without him. I know it's preseason, but I didn't really miss him. No, I don't think they missed him.
I just feel safer with Courtney Lee in the starting lineup because I know he's done that before.
You mean like forever going forward?
Yeah. Because I don't think
season you think he should start.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I don't think Courtney Lee's the answer to all their problems, but I just feel like for what Courtney Lee, Justin Jackson, if it's between Courtney Lee, Justin Jackson, and Dorian Finney-Smith,
well, yeah, that's
if it's between those three, I think you got to go with Courtney Lee. Now people are going to, oh my God, Dorian Finney, he's a bulldog. Because that's how people think Dorian Finney-Smith is, this bulldog on defense.
I wish we could have showed you your face.
He's okay on defense. Is Courtney Lee that much of a drop-off on defense? His whole career, he was a defensive-minded guy. That's why he got minutes. And then also because he made the right play. So if he's out there to just be your Andre Iguodala, so to speak, then I'd rather have him out there than that relying on Dorian Finney-Smith or Justin Jackson in crunch time minutes. Yeah,
and I think also, Justin Jackson got a lot of minutes, and I saw the same thing that we talked about in our last pod was that, he's not great. Best case scenario, neither one of them are playing, but he has more skill than Finney-Smith. Like, he can, pump fake and drive, or he can make the right pass, or he can get the ball and make an easy play for a shot.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to rely on him. He's not a very good player. Like Sacramento gave him up. Yeah. That's got to tell you something. But even just that, he is a little more skilled than Finney-Smith.
Well, if Finney-Smith could consistently hit his three-point shot, then the starting position would be his, because he is the better defender of all three of them, but he just cannot shoot it consistently. Sometimes he'll go 4 for 5 in a game, but then he'll have a 20-game drop where he goes 1 for 25 or something, and he just can't get any of them to fall. If he made those consistently, this wouldn't be a discussion. I do think it is clear, though, that the Mavericks' weakest position is that fifth starter.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Is that wing player, because you're going against Paul George and Kawhi and LeBron and James Harden.
Giannis, I guess.
Well, you may face Giannis.
Finney-Smith guarded Giannis.
And he got destroyed. Like literally, it was like he wasn't even there.
Yeah.
I would have rather have seen Porzingis on Giannis because at least you can have some size.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to shoot it enough or too many times from outside.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's their weakest spot. Personally, I'm a fan of Courtney Lee. I'm not a fan of Dorian Finney-Smith. Now, I would prefer that fifth starter to be Tim Hardaway. But I understand you got to have somebody to guard Kawhi, Paul George, LeBron, all these wings that are in the West. But my preference would be Tim Hardaway.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's some things that I guess they still have to figure out. But after seeing these, 3 or 4 games, I mean, to me, in my opinion, I think Justin Jackson has earned the minutes over Dorian Finney-Smith.
Yeah.
I think that has, I mean, in my eyes, it's been settled. The other thing that has to be settled is just the fifth starter. And I guess maybe that means that Justin Jackson is the fifth starter, but I guess that's kind of one thing that still needs to be settled. And then the other thing that you brought up that has to be settled, which will probably take the full season, first 20 games, is the log jam at guard. Yeah. Because they have Curry, Brunson, Barea, DeLon Wright, Tim Hardaway. And all those guys really played that one position. Like Curry and Barea can play the one. DeLon Wright could, but really, I think they're best suited. Well, I guess both. Yeah, they could play on or off the ball, but still, that's a lot of players for just one or two positions.
Yeah. Well, the difference is it'd be different if 2 of them were starting and then 2 of them were coming off the bench. Yeah. But you also have Luka.
Yeah.
Who's going
to get 30 plus minutes, 35. And
so your backups, I mean, how far deep do you go down? Now, I would assume then Tim Hardaway, because of his size, he can move to a wing player and you can play him with JJ and Seth, which I actually really like that as a backup unit. But Jalen, I don't want Jalen not to get minutes. I feel like Jalen has earned his minutes. So do you take minutes away from JJ or Seth or DeLon?
Yeah. I mean, because it's like Brunson and Barea are kind of the same players. Yeah. So you can't really play them together, I don't think.
And at this point, you would say, without knowing for certainty how Jalen's going to adjust in his second season, but JJ's probably the better player at what they do.
Yeah.
And do you not give minutes to JJ? I mean, when JJ's on, there's no stopping him. Yeah. So, and having that as a second unit, JJ, Seth, and Tim Hardaway, that's a really good second unit.
Yeah, they had a unit on the court against the Thunder that we hadn't seen before. I think it was Hardaway and Courtney Lee, and it must have been Luka, but it was more effective than we thought it would be. That might not actually be the lineup, but just kind of playing with the lineups, probably because he's seen the same problem you have. Like, we have all these guards, who fits together, and that's one thing that needs to get settled.
Well, somebody's minutes are going to go away.
Yeah.
And the question is who, and I feel bad for Rick Carlisle because
he has to decide,
and it's like he's in a lose-lose because anybody that he decides not to give minutes to, everybody's going to be throwing it. How come Jalen's not playing? They're going to throw a hissy fit.
Yeah.
And it's like there's nothing he can do about it. There's just there's too many players.
Yeah, so that's one thing. I mean, there's so much that needs to be settled, and there's only one game left. So a lot of this is going to run into this season. I think there was a debate between Finney-Smith and Justin Jackson. I would like to think that that's been settled. There's still a debate of the fifth starter, and maybe Carlisle is still trying to figure that out. Yeah. And then this many guards, that's probably going to shake out through the start of the season. One thing that I wanted to talk about was the number of 3-pointers they're shooting, because Carlisle talked about how they didn't necessarily want to just shoot a bunch of 3-pointers. They wanted to get good looks.
Yes.
But the purpose of the offense was for those good looks to be 3-pointers. And so when he said that, I kind of like made a mental note and started paying attention to it to see, okay, are these good looks? Does it make sense to shoot these threes? So far in preseason, I mean, I know it's preseason, but it hasn't been great. So they've taken so far 175 3-pointers, and they've made 55 of them. That's 31%.
Yeah, but a lot of that's garbage time.
Yeah,
with guys that aren't even on
true.
the team anymore.
And also, you got to keep in mind, like, Porzingis isn't
Yes.
shooting well.
Yeah.
He's 7 for 25. That's 28%. So if
Yeah.
he makes a few of those, the team rate goes up. But they're shooting over 43 three-pointers per game. Last year, they shot just over 36. So that's a pretty significant increase. And my concern with it is two things. One, I don't think they have the shooters to be like, we just want to launch a ton of threes per game. I mean, Luka and Porzingis, yes. And then you've got Curry, depending on how many minutes he plays. And then, Brunson can and Barea can, but it's not like they have a team where it's like, oh, yeah, we need to shoot 53s a game. So that kind of concerns me. And then the second thing is that, like I said, how the ball gets to them and they get this open three, but then the defense closes out, so they use a pump fake. But then because they're so concerned with either a three or a layup, they won't just pull up for like a wide open jumper in the mid-range. And I feel like it's hurting the offense at this point more than helping it. One more point. And that might just be because they need to figure it out, like how to make that work. But so far what I've seen, I'm not like crazy about this overemphasis on three-pointers.
Yeah, I think it's also the personnel that they have. I mean,
Yeah.
if they're open threes, you got to shoot them.
Yeah.
And
But they're not, even then they're not.
so if their offense was designed to get open mid-range jumpers, who's going to shoot them?
What do you mean?
It's the same players.
Oh, right.
So
yeah.
whether they're shooting a mid-range or a three, they're going to be shooting the same percentage because Dorian Finney-Smith can't really shoot the ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
DeLon Wright's not a jump shooter.
Yeah.
Justin Jackson. So it's like, to me, if I'm going to if that guy has to shoot the ball, I'd rather him just shoot a three than a mid-range jumper.
Even though the percentage is probably higher on obviously a two-pointer.
Well, they say you have to shoot 33% from three, and that is equivalent to 50% from two. Ain't none of those guys shooting 50% mid-range jumpers. That's like legendary level. That's Dirk level. Mid-range is 50%.
Yeah.
So, they have to shoot the threes. Unfortunately, they don't have great guys to shoot threes, but whether they're great or not great, the three has to be the shot that they shoot.
Yeah, and that was one thing I thought about when I was like working through this in my head. I was like, okay, I remember that, how you pointed that out, that points per possession are higher, obviously, on a three-pointer. But even if you shoot what most would consider a low percentage from the three-point line, it's still better than shooting a high percentage on twos, just because a three is like obviously worth more points. And so I was like, okay, so even if these guys aren't shooting 40% on the three-pointers, it's still better because when it does go in, it gets them more points, and they're not great shooters anyway.
Well, and what option do you have? Even to me, the offense is fine. The style is fine. They just don't have the personnel.
Yeah, and
no matter what offense they ran, they just don't have, because outside of Luka,
they're just not very good.
Exactly. The role players. So if you had Klay Thompson out there, or Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh as your other two guys, then it'd be a different story. Then it didn't matter what offense you ran because it would be good shots.
Yeah, and that was kind of the conclusion I came to, was kind of a combination that, one, a three-pointer is worth more points per possession, even if you shoot a less than average percentage, and they don't have good players anyways. So, these guys probably make or miss. It's the same whether it's a three or a two, unless it's a layup. And so at least with a three, you get more points.
And you think about Carlisle's offense. Imagine if they did have a bunch of three-point shooters.
Yeah.
It would be unstoppable because he always gets open threes.
Well, like Porzingis.
Yeah.
He's the best three-point shooter, and he gets the most open threes.
When they start dropping, then the team's overall percentage is going to go, because he's going to be shooting a lot of them.
So I want to read Luka and Porzingis stats so far. I know it's preseason, but it's interesting. So Luka so far is averaging 26 minutes a game. He's averaging 22.3 points, 8.3 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. I mean, the assists are low mostly because
nobody can make a shot.
Yeah, but
even Porzingis. I mean,
22 points and 8 rebounds in 26 minutes.
So I was thinking about that last night on the way home from the game.
No, he's shooting 41% overall, but
yeah. Well, in the first game, he played, he was terrible, and I think that's probably
Yeah.
why. But I was thinking about that on the way home. Is he's going to average like 27, 28 points a game this year
I mean,
because
I guess so.
I mean, he's going into the fourth. He's not playing the fourth, but he already has 20 points.
Yeah, he's got his points.
Yeah, and he hasn't played the fourth yet, and he's already at 20 at least. I mean, against the Bucks, he had 27. He played the fourth. He probably had 35, 37 points that game. So he's going to average 20, and his free throws are going in.
Yeah.
Lately.
Except for the one game, but other than that,
And if his free throws go in on a regular basis, he's going to be around 27, 28 points a game.
Yeah. I mean,
and Porzingis is going to be around 21, 22 because he's getting wide open shots, And sorry, not to.
That's
right now, he's just a spot up shooter, but Porzingis is way more than that. We haven't seen much of what else Porzingis can do because they're just trying to work him into a basketball game. But when he gets fully going, not only can he shoot, but he can put the ball on the floor. He can pull up off the dribble. He can do a crossover dribble, pull up like we saw against Andre Drummond.
Yeah.
So there's so much of Porzingis' offense that we haven't seen yet. So he's probably going to average over 20 points a game too.
Yeah, and we saw more of that in this last game against the Thunder of him being aggressive and driving it and posting up. And so that was good to see. I think he's kind of shaking off the rust, but there's still a ways to go because his shot isn't going
How's
in.
his preseason been?
So he is playing 23 minutes a game. He's scoring, here's his averages, 15.3 points, 8.3 rebounds, and 0.6 blocks. He's shooting 34.5% overall, 28% on threes. So but when you watch the games, you can see the shots are wide open. His movement is good. He gets more aggressive every game.
The shots are barely
They're just
off.
not going in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like in and out.
Yeah.
Just barely short.
So he could be at 15.3 points. He could be at 20 if he drops a couple of
I think he's going to drop over 20 a game. I mean, if it's any indication how the season is going to go, the way this preseason, where he's just wide open jumper after wide open, he's going to average over 20 a game easily.
I mean, it's preseason, so you never know. Like defenses, they're probably not trying a whole lot, but
I mean, that's the benefit though of having.
It's been a trend, though. I'll say that.
Yeah, and that's the benefit of, and what makes the Mavericks duo so much more unique than these rest of these duos. Maybe
they fit.
And you could probably make the argument with LeBron and Davis. Anthony Davis is a really similar style because they complement each other so well. But like, you can't just put two lockdown wings on them. They run pick and roll, and that always throws the defense off balance, if even just a little bit. And because they work together so much, they're going to be really hard to stop.
Yeah, so first of all, they fit together really well. And second of all, they're both really good.
Yes.
And that's the thing. It's like watching Luka. Porzingis has had to shake off the rust, but you can see the potential. But watching Luka from the very first preseason game, it's like he's just so good.
Yeah.
It was like he just got out there and started dominating again.
When he's interested, I don't think he's been interested, but for about 12 minutes of the whole preseason.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not a problem for him.
No.
During the regular season, but I think because it's preseason, he's been doing a lot of laughing.
He's just having fun,
But against the Bucks, you saw he was focused and he was unstoppable.
Yeah.
And the Bucks are a really good defensive team, and they have a lot of wing defenders. All he did was just step out even further and just shoot it from half court, basically.
Yeah, it's interesting, like seeing Luka average 22. We were talking about how in Carlisle's offense, no one really gets a ton of shots. Like Dirk, I think the most he averaged was maybe 24 or 25.
23 points a game was his highest.
Yeah. And that
well, not with Carlisle. That was 2011 championship and afterward.
Yeah. And that was Dirk, one of the all-time greats. Like, he had to be super efficient to get those points because he didn't get a lot of shots. And so we always said, like, Luka is never really going to average a ton of points because of Carlisle's system. But to see him already averaging 22 in only 26 minutes, yeah. I mean, it seems like he could totally average 25.
Oh.
Or more. But
yeah. No,
we'll see.
I think you can't not have him have the ball.
Yeah.
Like, he's so good with the basketball, making plays or making shots or getting to the free throw line. You can't take the ball away from him.
But the beauty of it is that he can play without the ball, too. Much as it's not like Carmelo, where he was so good with the ball, but he also sucked without it. So it's like, well, he has to have the ball, but he's good with it, but he has to. With Luka, it's like, I want him to have the ball, but it's nice that he doesn't have to have it in order to be effective.
Yeah. No, I think he's going to average nearly 27, 28 a game just because, especially, really, it's contingent on his free throw shooting and his overall field goal percent shooting.
Yeah.
If he's around 44, 45% from the field, 35% from three, of course, that's James Harden-esque numbers.
Yeah.
That's what he averages.
Yeah.
But if he did that, yeah, he's going to be around 30 points a game.
So he's, like I said, he's shooting 41% overall, but he's actually shooting just about 41% on his three-pointers too.
Yeah.
He's 9 for 22. So yeah, he's been, honestly, he's been great. Like,
and I don't think the Mavericks as a team really give a crap about his field goal percentage because when it matters, he makes
it goes in.
Yeah, and you have games against the Hornets where you're up by 10. You know, he can't get anything
and he jacks
to drop.
up a couple from the logo.
Yeah, just
like,
because, whatever.
Yeah.
But when it's against, the Spurs or something, then he comes to play.
Yeah. So talking about Porzingis, how he's at his numbers 15 and 8. So I don't know if these, I'll say my stat predictions for the year based on the data that we ran in that article where we looked at the 69 players who had torn their ACL. So the final stat prediction based on players that were age 25 or younger, kind of close to Porzingis, his predictions would be 18 points, a little over 5.5 rebounds, and 2 blocks. He's already averaging more rebounds. The 18 points, I think that's contingent. Right now he's at 15. I think it's contingent on how quickly his shot drops. Because if it takes him a couple months or the whole season to find his rhythm, I think 18 or 19, I mean, it's unlikely. I get that. But I'm just saying 18 or 19 might not be too far off from what he does.
Yeah. So whenever we looked at that number, I'm more looking at the player's second season back from injury.
Yeah.
And I feel like in the second season, they typically were fine. They moved on.
Especially
they
the
didn't have
young
any problems.
ones.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing with Porzingis right now is just shaking off the speed of the rust, the speed of the game, and all those things, which I thought in the end of the first half and into the second half of the game last night against the Thunder, I thought I saw him kind of shake that off a little bit, and he started looking a little bit better. So I imagine that he won't have too much problems coming back.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. We were at the game.
He missed
Monday
a lot of
night.
shots, but he looked good.
We went to the game on Monday night, which basically means that we're like credentialed reporters. Pretty much.
Right. We paid for those tickets.
we saw the guys in person from like 100 feet away.
Yep.
So we can attest to
Took
this.
pictures and everything.
Yeah. Porzingis is huge.
Marjanovic.
Yeah, Marjanovic is huge. But also, it was cool to see them interact on the court. And this kind of goes back to like what we were talking about earlier, how they actually looked like a team. So seeing them interact and being able to hear them communicate on defense, seeing Luka and DeLon Wright, the way that they communicated, and just seeing everyone as people, the chemistry, that it was, to me, it was it was a good sign. I liked seeing that because it wasn't always pretty, but not because they're not good or they don't fit. It's just because they're kind of figuring it out together. But for a while, there were stretches where you could see that they were all kind of connected mentally. You saw good stretches.
Yeah, I thought they looked fine. And I thought Porzingis looked good. And there was a couple of times, I know he had one block that ended up turning into a dunk anyways because the ricocheted off the goal. But there was a couple of drives where you saw his potential defensively when they drove it in. He didn't get the block, but he really impacted the player's
he's so
shot.
long and tall.
So they forced them to. Now, maybe if it's a better player, that goes in. If that's Chris Paul, maybe it goes in.
Yeah.
But it didn't. So, and it looked like that he impacted it. He had a lot of rebounds. One thing that helped with that, Steven Adams was out.
True.
But I didn't really care. I was happy to see him going for them, like feeling confident enough in his legs and his ability to get a rebound. That's, I think, what the biggest difference was with him is that he looked more confident running around.
Yeah. Yeah, more sure of himself. There was a couple or maybe just one moment where he fell
Oh my!
down.
Every time he
and I was
falls,
like,
holding the breath.
yeah, it was scary, but they look like they're slowly coming together, and they only have one preseason game left, so I think this is going to flow into the start of the regular season. But at least to me, I'm seeing progress, and that's based on just watching the games, but they look a little better.
Yeah, and Thursday's game's supposed to be a dress rehearsal. So we'll see a little bit more of a refined lineup.
Yeah, minus Dwight Powell and if finney-smith and Brunson
you still have injuries,
out,
but you'll see the starters play into the fourth, hopefully. Yeah. And then, we'll see how it goes. And it's against the Clippers. Let's hope they do the same, do it as a dress rehearsal, or it'll be kind of a letdown. Yeah. But we'll see how they look. But I think on that game, they're going to look a lot better.
Yeah, they're coming together. I think there's still some things to figure out with the lineup, but to me, I've seen signs of like if I were in charge of how I make the decision. But also the rosters coming together. So today, Matthias and who else got waived?
Eric Holman.
Eric Holman got waived. Udai already got waived, so that leaves Josh Reeves and Antonius Cleveland. I'm pretty sure Josh Reeves is going to get that spot.
Somebody was saying, and we have to look it up, but you can have a total of 15 players and then two two-way players.
Oh, okay.
And the two-way players can be in the G League.
Yeah.
And so
they might both.
Between Isaiah Roby, Josh Reeves, and Antonius Cleveland, two of those guys are going to be in the G League. One of them will stay with the team. My pick is Josh Reeves is going to stay with the team. Isaiah Roby and Antonius Cleveland will go to the G League.
Yeah. Josh Reeves has looked good. A lot of people, we were talking about this earlier, a lot of people are really high on him. Me, as a fan, I'm not, but just watching him as a basketball player, he's actually got some skill. He's okay.
To me, he just looks like he belongs on a basketball court.
He doesn't look scared. He doesn't look like he doesn't know what to do. He's not out of control. He plays well.
I think he played 4 years in college, so that probably helps a lot. He's not a 19-year-old like Isaiah Roby. I don't know how old Isaiah Roby is, but typically these rookies that aren't stars, they look completely overwhelmed by the game.
Yeah, of all of the random guys that they've brought in over the years,
he might actually turn into something.
Yeah, I remember Ricky Lido, Yi Jian Liang, Jared Cunningham they drafted. But, guys like that.
Dojo.
He somehow was on the team for 4 years. But
in the last 2 years, we had Daryl Macon.
So, of all these guys that they've brought in that, maybe will make the team or not make the team, Josh Reeves actually looks kind of decent.
Yeah.
He's probably the best one.
He's very disruptive on the defensive end.
Yeah, he has moments.
Which is perfect because... if you're going to play off the ball off Luka, you got to be able to defend the point guards.
True.
So he might turn into a lockdown defender for them.
Interesting. But so their last preseason game is Thursday. It's against the Clippers.
Yep.
And so that'll be good. And then we'll go into the season against the Wizards. I'm excited. Now that you've seen the preseason, we at one point predicted 50 wins or more. Now that you've actually seen them play for we'll do a 10th time win prediction. What would you say?
Well, plus minus what, 45 and a half?
Oh, you mean what's the over under?
Yeah.
I think it was 42.
What's yours?
Oh, mine. Oh, okay. So my guess for wins is 45. That's where I'm at right now.
That would be a good year for this team. Yeah. I think they're going to be over that.
Maybe 43 or 44.
Then you're going into mediocrity.
It depends on, like we said in the last pod, it depends on if these guys make these open shots. KP is going to cause problems for the defense, and Luka is an amazing passer, but DeLon Wright and Curry and Hardaway, and are they going to make these shots?
Yeah, the thing is, basically this is last year. Well, no, last year Luka had nobody that could make a shot. And having Porzingis this year,
just one guy.
Yes, they could very well average 50 points a game just between the two of them.
Wait, but hold on. He had Wesley Matthews last year. Who?
They could very well average 50 points a game, Porzingis and Luka.
Yeah.
With just them two. And I do think DeLon looks like he's going to be an upgrade. And then
Over who?
I guess no, he's not. I don't know if he's better than Jalen. The only reason he's the starter is because of his size and defense.
Yeah.
And Jalen's 6'1".
Mostly his size, because Brunson's not a terrible defender. He's just small.
And he does get burned a little bit, but yeah, it's because he's small.
Well, his legs are shorter, so he just
So because of that, I think it's an upgrade.
Yeah.
And I think Dwight Powell as a full-time starter, especially now having another guy that's going to pop, it's going to open it up.
Yeah.
And so I think they're going to be much better, way, way, way better than last year. And I'm still picking, what did I say originally, 48 wins. I'm gonna stick with 48.
I'll do 44. I'll do 44. Yeah. So we're gonna watch the game, and that'll be the last one, and then we'll see how it goes, and the season will be here. I'm actually very, very excited.
Seems like forever.
Yeah. But that's it for the show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Remember, you can catch all the new episodes on DallasHoopsCast.com. You can follow me on Twitter, follow the show on Twitter at DallasHoopsCast. I think that's it. Is there anything special you want to say, Marty, as your outro?
No.
You never give like a really special outro. All right, fine. We'll see you guys in the next episode.